YouTube, you fools try to limit me. Muting and deleting channels, thinking that's the end of me. Y'all are not on my level, smaller than a centipede. This is my purpose, TBT is a ministry. I do not tire, my God gives me energy. Chose by Messiah, you believe, come get with me. Married to a black queen, we got the illest chemistry. Founded the black tube, and now we making history. Black tube, 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 what? Black tube, 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 what? TBT, 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 what? TBT, 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 what? TheBlackTube.com. I'm a giant killer, son of an omniscient God who's realer. If this be the thriller in Manila, I'm Ali in his prime. It's showtime, coke time, about to take what's mine. We are not with your agenda, we showing real life.
Okay, all right. Peace, God.
Peace.
Appreciate you.
Even on here, hold on. You know how they like to do. I don't know if it's you know what I'm saying. They didn't like the commercial or what, but because of that, we gonna play it again. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Let's go.
YouTube, you fools try to limit me. Muting and deleting channels, thinking that's the end of me. Y'all are not on my level, smaller than a centipede. This is my purpose, TBT is a ministry. I do not tire, my God gives me energy. Chose by Messiah, you believe, come get with me. Married to a black queen, we got the illest chemistry. Founded the black tube, and now we making history. Black tube, 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 what? Black tube, 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 what? TBT, 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 what? TBT, 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 what? TheBlackTube.com. I'm a giant killer, son of an omniscient God who's realer. If this be the thriller in Manila, I'm Ali in his prime. It's showtime, coke time, about to take what's mine. We are not with your agenda, we showing real.
Supreme.
Shock.
They say I'm dope, I said I'm smoke, fire, blowing air, carbon, earth, solid, water, wet. I'm steady beat, a sister soldier that dies effects. So gone with all that hoopla and rah-rah, unless you talking about Atun, Namuna, Amara, pineal glands, all seeing eyes. We call the third eye, we came to build, not pay your bill. Sling them in the municipality, city seals like roadkill, descendants of Asian mound builders. Not supposed to need encyclopedias, genetically encoded hold it was 720. We got amnesia, claiming we Christian cretins in love with Yahweh, Muhammad, and Jesus. But you was living inside of God when you was a fetus. But believers and never believers, non-believers, cause we don't be lying, shaking hands and taking oaths with demons.
All right, peace and love. What up, though? What it do? What's popping? What's cracking? What's happening in times 9, times 10? I forgot about what's popping. It don't matter because we see what's popping. You know, the brother needs no introduction. He carries many titles, many delegations, you know, of authority by way of many, many nations. This is my brother and your brother, Dr.Alim L. Bay, the metaphysicist. How you say that? The metaphysicist. You know, the scholar when it comes to the indigenous autochthonous. Some of us don't like the word Aboriginal Americans, North, South, and Central. You know, we're talking about somebody who has decades of firsthand research and, you know, set up under the masters. You know what I'm talking about? When it comes to being some of the first to be a part of this paradigm. You know, we have a lot of people coming in now, you know, who are very popular by way of very colorful and cartoonish like PowerPoints and things like this and that. But again, you know, without any of that, they're, you know, babies, you know, in comparison to my brother, you know. Um, wow. The purpose of this particular series again is to address those and again, these are our brothers and sisters. When we speak about the Pan-Africans and, you know, the Hebrew Israelites and the Islamic brothers and sisters, whether it be again Orthodox, maybe they're Orthodox Muslims, maybe they're Sunni Muslims, maybe they're out of the NOI, you know, who have gravitated toward this knowledge of self, you know, whether they are from the nations of gods and earths, you know, we all have more in common with one another than we have tension or, you know, contingencies, if you would say, you know, it's just really surprising how some people, you know, have a massive amount of following and they can only stand in one chamber of knowledge. Outside of that, if we begin to talk about, let me say something simple like the Melungeons and, you know, just even if we just talk about Mayans, Incas, Olmecs, and Aztecs, they only have one picture in their mind, right? Which has caused, again, predominantly, I want to say my brothers and sisters out of the Pan-African movements to make these statements such as there were no so-called black people in the Americas prior to 1492. And I don't think, right, I don't think they realize the fact that when you say things like that, basically what you are saying is every time you see a heavy melanated, woolly haired person outside of what they call Africa, that those individuals had to be slaves or those individuals had to be shipped there by some Europeans. Like they don't understand how contradictory and asinine that statement is. And they're actually doing full dissertations on it, like, you know, which immediately renders you as not being a scholar. Right. Period. So I'm bringing the best in so we can, you know, once again smash them, you know, and still, you know, have love for them at the same time, because we have some of the same adversaries or the same enemies, you know, as a people as a whole, and we need to learn how to unite. You understand? Have some unity amongst one another so that we can become active with this information. Many of us already are and have been, again, for 20, 30 years. You understand? So where do we start with this? Again, I mainly want to address the fact that I don't think they're considering that when they make these statements, again, they're saying anywhere that we see melanated people in what they would call ancient times, because when we're talking about 1,000 years ago, that's not ancient times to me. We're talking about 2,000 years ago. That's not ancient times. To me. Now, to somebody else, I would accept that. But again, when you see us all over, you understand, before a transatlantic slave trade even existed, before a middle passage even happened, what explanation can they give at that point? They are still in denial with all of these artifacts, with all of these places like Poverty Point. The Mongoloids don't claim any of that. They say their gods, or these other people. Who are these other people? These other people had to be the people who predated them in the Americas. And that's a portion of my take.
Well, that's the only portion that they should be able to take, because real simple. What about the Olmecs? According to their calendar, it's not the Mayan calendar, because I went to Mexico and the Mayans told us that it was the Olmec calendar. It was the Olmecs who built the pyramids. And this was coming from a Mayan. And y'all can find that. Matter of fact, both videos are found on my website. And he referred to the Olmecs as the Nubian Egyptians. The Nubian Egyptians. Now, this timeline that they was talking about was 3,113 BC. Now, you take 3,113 BC plus 2024 AD, you have over 5,000 years that the Olmecs have been here in North America, or North Central South America. That's a proven fact now. Even if you go to Mexico, they would tell you these facts. So that is 4,500 years before the so-called slave trade. That's 4,500 years before the mid-Atlantic slave trade. Everyone can see the Grana Cabeza, those gigantic Colossus heads that they found over 22 of in Mexico, from out of La Venta, Tabasco, San Lorenzo. These are the areas where they found these gigantic heads. And all of the majority of the scholars all say that these are African looking heads. In other words, Moorish looking heads that weighs over 5 tons. So they leave evidence like this, and we come with the asinine thought process that the European were all of us over here on slave ships 400 to 500 years ago. Goddess, do you mind if I do my presentation? Okay. So I'm going to present. Let me go to.
We triple ready over here.
All right. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. In the book, The Origin and Evolution of Primitive Man. Primitive. So this is beyond 1,000 years ago. This is beyond 2,000 years ago. It says primitive man. This is written by Albert Churchward. He says, from here, these little men spread it all over the world. North, east, south, west. In other words, they brought the good news until not only Africa, hold up, let's say that part again. Not only Africa, but Europe, Asia, North and South America, and Oceania were populated by them. Well, we know that this occurred before the European was even on the planet. This occurred before the mid-Atlantic slave trade. Churchward goes on. He said he was the first, the little red man of the earth. From the pygmy, evolution continued progressively in the following order. 1, Bushman. 2, Musabak Negro. 3, Neolithic Negro. 4, Maasai. 5, Mongoloids. And then the so-called Aryanists. The European was last. When these little men spread it all over the world, they already spread it throughout Europe, already spread it throughout Asia, already spread it throughout North and South America and Oceania. Before the European was even thought about, before he was even a factor on the planet, before he even originated, was made on the planet. We was already here. Albert Churchward is a European. But you're not going to believe that, are you? A white man, a pale man says that we was all over the world before he even got here? Well, you can go to page 13 and read about it. In another book, Wonderful Ethiopians of the Ancient Kushite Empire by Drusilla Houston. This is what she says. I'm going to read the last 4 lines or sentences. They were responsible for the monuments that dot southern Siberia and in America, along the valley of the Mississippi, to where? Down to Mexico, and in Peru. Their images and monuments stand as voiceless witnesses. But you don't want to go with the voiceless witnesses. These are the heads that I'm telling you about, as well as also other relics and antiques that has been found. This was the ancient Kushite Empire of Ethiopia that covered 3 worlds. What was the 3 worlds? Oh, I tell you. Africa, Asia, America. So this ancient Kushite Empire of Ethiopia covered 3 worlds. Once again, you don't want to believe that. But yet, when they describe in American, the European wasn't even in the definition in 1936, 1937. And it reads American and Aboriginal, one of the various copper-colored natives found on the American continent by the descendants of European settlers. By the descents of European settlers. Hold up. They found you here in America. It doesn't say that they brought all of you here from Africa. Yes, a part of your bloodline is African. However, a part of your bloodline is also so-called Black European. Another portion of your bloodline is also Native American, i.e., all 3 worlds were Moors. You don't believe me? It says you right here in the last sentence. The following is the original application of the name Meru. The word Meru means Moor. If I'm lying, let's find out. Between 1894 to 1921, mineralogist, archaeologist William Nevins discovered ancient cities in Mexico. So now we're talking about ancient cities. Well, who the hell built these cities? It says that dated to the beginning of the Pleistocene era, which was 2.5 million years ago. Oh no. Cities couldn't have been built 2.5 million years ago. He said some cities was built further into the Tertiary era, which beneath volcanic ashes, Nevins discovered over 2,600 stone tablets, as well as moderate human skulls that showed what? Negroid genetic markers. There was Negroids 2.5 million years ago built in cities in Mexico. If I'm not mistaken, Mexico is located in North America. What happened to these Negroids? What happened to these Negroid people? Oh, they must have just faded out. Nevins Guerrero collection are now in the American Museum of Natural History and the Peabody Museum of Harvard University. This is where they have your collection at. In 1887, Florentino Amiglino discovered apparently man-made heaths, primitive flint tool, carved bones, and a moderate-looking human spinal bone in the Pleistocene strata 3 to 5 million years old in Monte Hermoso, Argentina. Where's Argentina located at? Oh, I know, it's located in South America. So we have Negroes in South America at least 3 to 5 million years old or ago. And he also made similar finds in the Mesocene strata in Argentina, 5 to 25 million years old. So there was Negroes here, 5 to 25 and 3 to 5 million years ago. As we find cities in Mexico 2.5 million years ago. And who was it that we showed earlier that already spread it throughout the world were the so-called pygmies. If I'm not mistaken, the pygmies are Negroid people. They are a Negroid people. As we all see here, the Bushmen are, the Masabo Negro, the Naulic Negro, the Maasai. Then after that, you start getting to the Mongoloids or Mongolian, and then also the European Albion. But before there was any of these other races on planet Earth, we were here. Yes, we spread it throughout the whole world. In fact, Dr. Khalid Muhammad not only said it best, he said Africa is our throne, but the earth is our home. This still have not registered, obviously, with some of the RBG or Pan-Africanists or nationalists, as they refer to themselves as. True nationalism means you start with a nationality. If you don't have a nationality, then you can't be a nationalist. Anyway. Then we have Virginia Stein McIntyre in 1969. She's a geologist, and she had a team in which that she led into Mexico, in which that she found existence dating back of humans, artifacts, 250,000 to 350,000 years ago. It upset the Mexican government so much till they asked her to take off zeros.
What?
Yes. They asked her to take off zeros. Say, it can't be 250,000 years or 35 or 350,000 years. Go down to 2,500, 3,500 years. That's within the proper time frame of the 6,000 year mythology of the planet Earth coming into existence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she jeopardized her career and she would not do it and did not do it. Now,
Wow.
according to another book, Socioeconomics, the history of Pan-Africanism. If you want to be a Pan-Africanist, then get this shit right. This is Socioeconomics. This is the history of Pan-African trade, commerce, money, and wealth, part 1 by Paul Alfred Barton. He says, the mound builders, they were dark-skinned, woolly-head blacks who were indigenous, niggas. Natives to North America and kin to the Olmecs of South America. The Olmecs in Washita, Black Californians, Yamasee, Califanami, and other pre-Columbian blacks of America were part of a prehistoric network, trade network that began in Africa and spread it worldwide over 100,000 years ago and at various periods afterwards. In other words, the Albion didn't bring us over here. We brought ourselves here. And was the indigenous natives to North America and South America. And that was over 100,000 years ago. So I'm giving you a timeline if you notice. That's what I'm going through. Is a timeline. We started with the oldest people on planet Earth, who were the Dey-Twah people, known as the Pygmies, misnomer Pygmies. Then their descendants, the Nautic niggers or Negroes, the Bushmen, I should say, then the Masaba Negroes, the Nautic Negroes. Okay.
So, Alim, when you speak about the Twa, how does Bess, the guy Bess, tie into that? And do we see Bess over here in the Americas?
Yes, we do. In fact, on the calendar of the Olmecs, it is Bess whose face is in the center of the calendar, and his tongue is sticking out, just as we would see the same within ancient Egypt.
So
9,000 miles away, we see the exact same image of the Bess, a statue of the Bess, which is of a Twa, and his tongue is stuck out.
Wow. See, I don't want to, I don't want to interrupt the wisdom. You feel me? But one particular Pan-Africanist,
right?
He refers to himself as the God Bess. So how much knowledge, and how scholarly can this guy be to go against the grain, of facts? You see us everywhere. It's just kind of a peace be upon him, Runoko Rashidi, before he left, when we look at his work for what he presented to the people, seeing again, woolly-headed, melanated people all over the globe.
All over the globe.
He's seen this with his own eyes, and he shared it with us, right?
Right.
He was one of the first that I heard speak about the Dravidians, right?
Right.
So it was premature. His passing was premature because I don't know if any of us, but I know I didn't have the opportunity to build with that elder. You understand?
Right.
He made some statements that kind of contradicted his work.
Right.
And this is not anything negative, because again, once upon a time, I was a little bit of everything that you can name, from a Hebrew Israelite to a Pan-Africanist. And even though, during my big African medallion, my big African medallion stage,
None of that
No
contradicts
parents.
anything in which that we're saying. We're not saying that we don't come from Africa or that Africa is not the motherland. We're saying that we've been here longer than the European been on this damn planet, and therefore recognize the truth of that matter. That's simple. It's just that simple.
Yeah, they love to say that we're the original people of the planet. So we're the original people of the planet. Nobody can predate us on any continent.
Exactly. Simple. If you
Real
need
simple.
books, then the book in which that I would recommend is What They Never Told You in History Class by Indo-Kemet Kush. His other book is called The Missing Pages of History. Get both of those books by Indo-Kemet Kush, and he breaks all this information down. But see, these so-called scholars are not really scholars. What universities have they gotten degrees from? They self-taught, or they claim that they, you can go on a trip with Dr. Ben, but that don't make you a damn researcher, a scholar, a student of real history. And that makes you a tag-along. There's a difference. And I got to be honest with this. Research, study, history, heritage, nationality, culture, ties back to land. Now, the greatest who have probably taught this method or taught this science was probably Dr. John Henry Clark. He says we answer the silly names. Negro, black, and colored. Black might tell you how you look, but it doesn't tell you who you are. He said, your nationality, culture, and history must instantaneously tie you back to land. So all we're saying is that if we look and add all this information that we've gathered here today, it would tie us back to America. You are so inert not to be an American because of what America has done to you. No, it's not what America has done to you. It's what the Albion has done to you as United States citizens. They're not American. And therefore, you throw them in with the American, and they're not indigenous to here. They're indigenous to Germany, Russia, Italy,
Yugoslav, Yugoslav.
Right, Slav, right, the Slavic, the slaves. This is where they're indigenous to, but not here. So you have a portion, you have a problem, I should say, with you claim Africa, but yet you say that we all over the world. You say that we are the most indigenous people on the planet. We are the original people on the planet, but yet we only stayed in Africa. And then the European, with his genius, came 500 years ago and gathered from out of Africa and brought us to America. Is this what I'm supposed to believe? Anyway, that's how
you make a lot of money.
Right. So this is the stupidity of anyone who's still popping that bullshit today, because I know since the debate in 2009, people said that, or said he won, but yet, where's the RBG movement at? I can show you the movement of us being indigenous and how that shit has taken on its own life.
Right.
I initiated that. It has taken on its own life. Nobody now can say that we're not indigenous to the Americas. If you do, I got underlings who would smash you. No need for me to even talk any longer. You know, there's research guy. There's Camario. There's Dane Calloway.
Man,
There's,
that man said, what he say? He just want to make you think. How Dan Calloway say that shit?
That's it.
He said, I'm just here to make you think. You understand? When you are a true one to this movement, you know exactly where he got that from. You understand?
Right.
You know where he got it from. So he, we all right. He, to me, he's not looked at by most of his followers as being new or a baby out here. But that's not the case with us, because nigga, we know where you got them shoes from. We know where you got all. We know where it has a origin.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It has an origin. And again, when the PowerPoint is not around, you know what I'm saying? Can you still stand on that foundation?
Right.
Is the question. So, being that I've known you for a long time, you don't walk around, you know what I'm saying, with a laptop and be like, let me show you, know what I'm saying? It's just off the top because it's natural. It's become natural.
Right.
It's your gift, but it's become natural because you don't just talk it, you live it.
Right.
It's the difference. A lot of people, again, a lot of these brothers and sisters who, I'm not saying that they aren't knowledgeable, but they need to pay homage to where they got it from. They'll hide it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? They'll hide it and act as if this is something they came up with themselves, right? And that's my only issue. Anything outside of that, regardless to how they may feel about certain terms that we may use, like for more or Aboriginal, everybody who kind of goes back as far as you and as far as I, again, they don't, the word Aboriginal may not resonate with you. And again, that's fine, because there's so many other terms that give a perfect description of our ancestors. And if those are our ancestors, again, without contradiction, that's you.
Right.
That's you, so I don't have a problem with that. But when they try to muddy the water, so to speak, to try to make themselves look like a shiny diamond, that's kind of, it's disrespectful. I'm gonna just say what it is. And I love to see them begin to pay homage, like Top Cat, the brother Top Cat. I don't know, how many are familiar with him. I've never actually even seen one of his lectures. What I caught a couple of glimpses of was him on Sinetta's show. You know what I'm saying? And I actually did hear an interview he did with the elder Taj Tariq Bey. And he pays homage, although he doesn't refer to himself as a Moor. He tell you where he got them shoes from. You understand? He let you know where he got that knowledge from. Who was the first that he heard talking about, again, our ancestors as the indigenous people of the Americas, North, South, and Central. But on the other hand, you have some others who don't.
Right.
So, and the thing is,
and that's the problem.
When it comes to people who come from the grassroots movements, no matter what it is, whether they were into Bobby Hemmett or, no matter what.
Right.
The minute these new abos is how they label them, as soon as they open their mouth, the first thing an elder gonna say is, "Oh, brother, you a Moor. Oh, sister, you a Moor." And again, some of them will act as if they're offended by that. You understand?
Right. Yeah.
And they gonna have to not just bring that down. Some they're gonna have to begin to pay homage. Other than that, they'll never really be accepted in the mainstream that they're trying to fit into. You understand?
Right. Yeah. All right. So let's look at these two books here. A Pictorial History of America, Northern and Southern Portions of the New World. All right, by S.G. Goodrich. Then you have the Red, Brown, and Black Men of where? Of America and Australia, and their white supplanters. So if someone is going to supplant somebody, means that they have taken the place of. That means that Bettany, G.T. Bettany, is writing about the fact that red, brown, and black men of America, in other words, that they was already here in the Americas, and then you get their white supplanters, as we was already there in Australia. But the Australians remember that that's their land. That's the only difference. You Negroes don't, because you've been indoctrinated very well with this land is my land, this land is your land concept. Who lived in America 50,000 years ago? Well, let's see. Because remember, we already told you who spread it out throughout the Americas. The Twa people. And if you've never seen the Twa people, Google that shit. As my brother Panic always used to say. Colonel James Churchward now, this is the brother to Albert Churchward. James Churchward says sculptures tablets recently discovered in Mexico present startling evidence of prehistoric civilization of the on the American continent. Founded by colonizers. No, it wasn't colonizers. That's them. But founded by us from the lost motherland of Mu in the Pacific Islands. Well, hold up. Where did we see that before? Oh, I know. Here go the Twa people. This is the Twa people. They look like Negroes to me. Maybe not to you. They look white to you. They look Albion to you. Anyway.
Pause, God. Are you still I see your screen share, but I don't see it changing from of primitive man. The origins and evolutions. I don't know if you and now I see it moving. Okay. All right.
Yeah, there we go. So these are the Twa people, the pygmies. These are the small, short men, average 4'11", so less than 5 feet tall. And according to Raymond Drake, he says that they've been on Earth at least 30 million years, according to him. And gods and spacemen in the ancient West. So who's these gods that he's talking about? They was the pygmy. They was the Twa people. The Tohites or Putahites, or what is known as Puta or Ta. Then we have a 28 million year old human skeleton in the British Museum in the basement. They found in the Caribbean islands of Guadeloupe. 28 million year old human. So that bypasses all of the nonsense of coming from apes, because the ape species didn't come about until 20 million years ago. I just showed you a fossil from 28 million years ago. Just showed you that the Twa people been on planet Earth for at least 30 million years ago. But anyway, I show you once again the origin and evolution of primitive man. It says, from here, these little men spread all over the world, north, east, south, west, until not only Africa, but Europe, Asia, North and South America, and Oceania. Oceania is what? The Pacific Ocean, the Pacific Islands. That's Oceania. It's the Pacific Islands. So let's go on. This coming from Chief Shango L. Toriano.
Peace to the God.
This is what the guy says. Paleo-American, or rather ancient American. This is what I named it, and this is what he says. The Autochthonous Aboriginals is misnomered today as Negro, Black, Colored, African-American, and African-American, but lawfully known as Moors or Moors, but been in the Americas since time immemorial as the first people. Once again, have been in the Americas since time immemorial as the first people. I'm going to say that one more time, have been in the Americas since time immemorial as the first people. Dr. Theodore Watts, author of Introduction to Anthropology, published in 1863 on page 195, states that a man by the name of Dr. Alim infers that the population of America is more ancient than that of the old world. Dr. Watts further documents that during excavation for gas works in New Orleans, a human skeleton was found at a depth of 16 feet under the cypress forest, and the age of the skeleton was calculated at approximately 57,000 years old during the period of discovery. Now, this is geneticist Tyrone Cannon. This is what he says in my own genetic chart. New evidence put man in North America 50,000 years ago. So they took the zero off of the 5,000 year period of the Olmecs when it really went back to 50,000 years ago. And this is what he says. Radiocarbon tests of carbonized plants remains with artifacts were unearthed last May along the Savannah River in Allendale County by University of South Carolina archaeologist Dr. Albert Goodyear, indicating that the sediments containing these artifacts were at least 50,000 years old, meaning that humans inhabited North America long before the last ice age, long before the goddamn mid-Atlantic slave trade. Get that? Goes on. 3 radiocarbon dates were obtained from depths of the trace at Topper, with 2 dates of 50,300 and 51,700 of burnt plant remains. 1 moderate date related to an intrusion. Stafford say the 2 50,000-year-old dates indicate that they were at least 50,300 years. The absolute age is not known. The date could actually be older. Goodyear say 50,000 should be a minimum age, since there may be little detectable activity left. He goes further. Let's see how we correlate this. The Topper excavation site is in the central Savannah River Valley of Allendale County, South Carolina. A popular assumption in some scientific circles is anatomically moderate human evolved in Africa between 60,000 and 80,000 years ago. Evidence of anatomically moderate humans migration out of the African continent has been documented in Australia, in Central Asia at 50,000 years, and in Europe at 40,000 years. See, these are the same little Twa people that we were just talking about. See, this is beyond 1,000 years ago, beyond 2,000 years ago. The fact that the anatomically moderate humans were also in North America at or near the same time highlight the fallacy of the 008 concept. This is Albert Goodyear here to the left. And this is what he says. Leaving South America, Dr. Albert Goodyear, South Carolina University professor, say human lived along the east bank of the Savannah River 50,000 years ago. The 51,700 year North American site found in Allendale County, South Carolina by the Savannah River, which is less than 30 miles from the Atlantic Ocean, the evidence for the ancient African migration. So Africans was traveling the 7 seas. They were traveling the Atlantic Ocean over 50,000 years ago? Assumably so. The evidence for the ancient African migration comes in multiple forms: skulls and skeletons, footprints in lava, campsites, genetic M174 and D haplogroups, linguistics, paintings, carvings, architecture, Egyptian writing from 50,000 years ago. Well, remember I told you that the Mayan told us that they didn't build the pyramids. He says that the Nubian Egyptians built the pyramids in Mexico. The data exposed the false premise that the first Americans came from Asia once and for all. So hold up. We now know 50,000 years ago, it was an ancient African migration. They had Egyptian writing. Oh, boy. Anyway, this is another doctor, Dr. David Imhotep, and he wrote the book, The First Americans Were Africans, documented evidence. So all the Pan-Africanists that have a problem with this information, we're not saying that we didn't come from Africa. We're just saying that we've been here before the European got on planet Earth, before the Mongoloids or Asian people got on planet Earth. That 50,000 years ago, there was only one race of people on the planet Earth, and that was the Negroid people. And we scattered throughout the world. We didn't just stay in Africa. We was in Asia. We was in Australia. We was in the Antarctic. We was in America. This is a fact. So Africans may have been the original Americans. I'm going to say that shit again. Africans may have been the original Americans. One more time. Africans may have been the original Americans. So we're talking about the timeline that we just gave. We're talking about 30 million years ago. 28 million years ago, we know that they spread it, these Twa people spread it throughout what we now call the Caribbean islands, meaning that they probably was already here in the Americas soon after, as they spread it throughout the world. We seen there was cities 2.5 million years ago in Mexico. We see that there were skulls and fossils found 250,000 to 350,000 years ago in Mexico. We see that 100,000 years ago, Paul Barton speaks of the Washita, the Californians, the Califanami, the Yamasee. These black nations already existing here. Way before the goddamn slave trade. Only about 15% of our ancestry recently came from Africa 400 years ago. The other 85% was already here. Just take it or leave it alone, as Honorable Elijah Muhammad used to tell you. Africans and so-called African Americans.
Doc, wait a minute. You sure that ain't brand new Nubians? Remember they had that cut, love it or leave it alone or something like that.
Right. That was called Love It or Leave It Alone. But Elijah Muhammad used to say, take it or leave it alone.
Indeed. I have to bring some comedy to the table because I'll mess around and be them popped a vessel messing with these clowns, and some of them, we
but as you see, guys,
let me just say this. Me and when the camera go off, you know what the conversation is. Oh, brother, this ain't for us. this is for the people. Well, the people need to go in and out 36 chambers of knowledge. They don't need to stay trapped in one. And you know what I'm saying? This is why I get so irritated. With people older than me that want to talk to me about being a Hebrew Israelite. Like, bro, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Why try to downplay all the other systems, that our ancestors, these were lessons. This was like first grade, second grade, third grade. I'm not gonna stay in the fourth and fifth grade with your ass. I'm gonna continue to build. You understand? But they're comfortable with, for example, and I'm always gonna discuss this because I think due to the lack of the balance is the reason why we have all this alphabet in pedo. You know what I mean when I say pedo, since we can't say the word, activity that has continued generation after generation. Everybody wants to strictly stay in a certain era of time, you know what I'm saying? And only give praise to a sky daddy. Where the mother at? Where I just want to know.
She's
if I'm gonna have a sky,
she's the
daddy,
ghost.
I got to have a sky mother and a sky daddy. You understand?
Right.
And again, I'm not saying that, as a woman, I want to be equal to a man, but you have to look at that because this is something people take very serious, their belief. You understand? And not once, growing up, did we ever hear anything but Father, Lord, he'll do it, and hold on. It was mother, father, child. You understand? In the pre-dynastic period, you understand what I'm saying? So you just gonna only give the Abrahamic ideologies all the light and all the shine, like that begins to look suspect. You understand? For me as a woman, as a grown ass woman, I kind of, it's real suspect. Like you haven't graduated yet. All this information, we always talk about the internet and how, information is at your fingertips. And again, you still want to have a sky daddy without a sky mother, and a sky child. I guess they got their sky child when they got Yahshua ben Joseph. I just want to know, I want some balance. Some balance within our spiritual systems, you understand? Because that's how we're supposed to be dealing with them. And it's just, as soon as you start talking about it, you got to be the feminist who got brung in, or you a beta male. If it's a brother, you ain't an alpha male. You a beta male. No, you're not. You're the male who loves women, and I'm a woman that loves men. So I'm saying it has to be both. It can't just be one. Not to mention, we know one predates the other. We don't even want to have to get into that conversation because then I'm really gonna get stoned. You understand what I'm saying? But I'm saying that lack of balance, again, everybody, that has caused these elemental PQ stuff. Like when I was in middle school, I didn't see two little girls holding hands and kissing and you know what I'm saying? Now it's not. As an adult, you do as you please. You understand? But I'm talking about the babies is out here fruity. By influence, not by birth. They wasn't born talking about, well, I'm a female, but I feel like I'm a male. Or you see, they getting the shit knocked out of them in these sports. Talking about they feel like they are a male, so they gonna go play with the boys on the team and getting the shit knocked out of them. And then the little boys, and I'm talking about still in school. The little boys talking about they feel like they're a girl, so they're gonna go play on the sports teams with the little girls and knocking the shit out them little girls, getting sued and everything. Thanks to your boy Biden, and I'm not a Trump or a Biden person. I don't give a care about either one. They cousins. What do you want?
Right.
They doing big business. They on the same team. You see, but I'm just saying we have to give reference, and I know you do. You give you know what I'm saying? If we're gonna deal with ancient things and things that predate other things that begat things, you understand? We have to again put that element in, and it goes so much smoother when it comes from a brother than when it comes from a sister. Because again, there's nothing feminist about me. Look at the things that I've been into throughout my lifetime. I'm still a hip hop baby. I'll probably be a hip hop baby at age 7'4". You understand? Like, it just is what it is. It's not gonna change because it's authentic. But again, we have to start manifesting these things so that we can get this out of our baby system, because it's in there bad.
Right.
Again, I'm quite sure when you were in middle school or high school, even, I don't even remember anything like that in high school ever. And these babies is, elementary, middle school, expressing these things because it's on every TV show.
Right.
I heard a homosexual say that they're tired of every show having to have the elemental P element in it. It is getting to be too
Right.
much,
Right.
and it's intentional.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Population control agenda, baby. Control our babies' minds so that they won't procreate. Simple.
Yeah, they got that negative birth rate, so
Yep.
we and this ain't out my mouth. This is out of NBC, Fox, and for years now they've been expressing that those pale people have a negative birth rate. This is not nothing anybody is making up.
No.
Hit your Google. And you'll see your mainstream media platform that you trust. Again, CBS, NBC, ABC. They're saying this. They've been saying this for years. You see Madonna and everybody else want to go adopt some melanated children. You see the amalgamated tribes or clans trying to mix back in with us, but you still haven't recognized that we the indigenous people of this land.
Right.
Crazy.
Well, I'm gonna end it right there, Goddess. I think they got enough, and there's nothing else to really be said because history already told us the truth of the facts of the information. If they want to keep, if they want to keep saying that Europeans brought all of us over here, then that's on them and their stupidity. When history shows a complete different story. When Dr. Ivan von Sertima wrote they came before Columbus, that meant before the goddamn slave Atlantic trade too. So now now it's time for us to write they came before the slave ships. All right, you ready to write that? You ready for me and you to write that?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I want to say peace be upon him always to the brother David M. Hotep. We lost him not too long ago. And I just wanted to, acknowledge his passing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
Appreciate you, bro. I'm glad, again, short and simple, short and simple. It's an hour. If they can't get it,
Exactly.
This is given to y'all. We have to go and well, me, in a lot of cases, because outside of Steve Coakley and Bobby Hemmett and Taj later on, like, I didn't get the opportunity to be in person at a lot of grassroots lectures, but I watched many VHS tapes and DVDs later on and converted the VHSs into DVDs back in the day. So yeah, I'm really, we used to have to sit down and take notes. You giving them the notes.
Right. I knew Dr. Ivan von Sertima personally. I sat in his classes on numerous occasions when he came to Fayetteville State University back in the late 80s, early 90s. Okay. So I have firsthand experience with him talking about that. They came before Columbus and they are us. He's talking about we came before Columbus. All right. So as long as we keep having Negroes talking that nonsense, that the European brought all of us here, then that attempts to negate the work of Dr. Ivan von Sertima. That's to negate the works of Dr. David Imhotep and many others.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to do that. We're going to incorporate everybody where we can put this puzzle together.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. You want to plug anything? Any upcoming events? Any emails? Or
Yes, we have an event coming up September the 20th, 21st, and 22nd. It is called the Afro Indigenous Wellness and Cultural Festival. It's going to be right here on our land in North Carolina. For those interested, you can give me a call at 910-364-9099. That's 910-364-9099. We're looking for vendors. We're looking for anyone who bringing their RV, if they bringing their food truck or whatever the case is, give us a call. If you got a tent you need to set up, that's fine too. But it's going to be a 3-day event, going to be powerful. All right. It's called More Stock. All right.
All right. My brother is the healer. He the healer. You know, I didn't even mention your holistic side. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like you just got so many attributes, bro.
Yeah, well, they can take the card and do all of that.
Okay. Wait. Probably should have buzzed down your screen share first and showed it. It'll be bigger.
Okay.
There you go. Now we can see it in full color better. What did I just do on my screen? Yes, sir. Right. Yes, sir.
So
I've seen one person doing a Tai Chi like 15, 16 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Indeed. All right, everybody. This is all love. You see, it's no, you know what I'm saying? None of that rah-rah that you get, with other people that always got to mention other people's names. Like, we ain't have to mention nobody's name, right? And it's many people, we could have aimed at, but again, we don't need to be doing that. We need to unite and we used to say back in the day, everybody got a piece of the puzzle. You know what I'm saying? Well, today is beyond that. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. We got the whole pie.
Yeah.
We got the whole pie. So I don't,
Yeah.
They need to get this in together. And once we get this in together, as being another one of the things that the vast majority of us agree on, because we agree on more things than we disagree on. When we talk about other sets of people that's into knowledge of self, when you say knowledge of self, it's supposed to embody everything, right? Like all the elements. You're not just made up of water. You understand?
Right.
Not just made. You're just not skin. Right.
You're
not just gold, because we got that. But, man, again, we don't have to do this again. And
all right, no problem. Let's get it.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Love you and talk to you again soon. And peace, relatives. We out this.
Peace.
Oh, that thing.
YouTube. You fools try to limit me, muting and deleting channels, thinking that's the end of me. Y'all are not on my level, smaller than a centipede. This is my purpose, TBT is a ministry. I do not tire, my God gives me energy. Chose by Messiah, you believe? Come get with me. Married to a black queen, we got the illest chemistry. Founded the black tube, and now we making history. Black tube, 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 what? Black tube, 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 what? TBT, 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 what? TBT, 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 what? TheBlackTube.com. I'm a giant killer, son of an omniscient God who's realer. If this be the thriller in Manila, I'm Ali in his prime. It's showtime, go time, about to take what's mine. We are not with your agenda, we showing real.
I said I'm smoke, fire, blowing air, carbon, earth, solid, water, wet. I'm steady B, a sister soldier that dies effects. So gone with all that hoopla and rah-rah. Unless you talking about Atun, Namuna, Amara, pineal glands, all see your eyes. We call the third eye. We came to build, not pay your bill. Slang municipality, city seals like roadkill, descendants of ancient mound builders. Not supposed to need encyclopedias, genetically encoded with 720. We got amnesia, claiming we Christian Cretans in love with Yahweh, Muhammad, and Jesus. But you was living inside of God when you was a fetus. But believers and never believers, non-believers, cause we don't be lying, shaking hands and taking oaths with demons.
Yo, that was fire. That was fire. But what I want to know is who up next? Who should we have come up next on this topic? Pre-Columbian, Indigenous Autochthonous, and some will say Aboriginal Americans. Woolly haired, heavily melanated, locks in their hair, right? Who should be next? Who we should interview next? You pick. I want to know. I want to know from the people where we at. Taking requests. That's what we doing right now. We taking requests. How many minutes we got? Let me see. Why I come up over here? Yeah, I'm ready for although in this day and age, when it comes to scholarship, thus far we've had a Sir Ducatiers, and we just had Dr.Alim El Bay. They are the elders now, but there are some elders who are our elders, right? So I would like to bring one of our elders to the table and let them light this boy up, right? And I'm asking y'all, who y'all want to see next? I don't know. It's still some young elders though that I don't know. I want an elder. I want one of our elders, right? To fall through and run it down, as we would say today, right? So I need some suggestions right now. Due to a recent and what I mean by recent is not just because of that reason, but being that I see he's coming out and speaking. Man, if I could get Dr. Claude Anderson on here, that would be fire, right? And it's not a if, I haven't checked and shit. I want to say since like maybe 2013, 2014, but he wanted like 10 stacks, right? And and this was to come out and do an actual lecture. But I don't know, maybe we can do something, more feasible, if at all, if it's because at this point in time, from some of the health issues or whatnot that he's been having, he seems to be more determined to get this information out. And again, his main point of contention is why we ain't got them reparations or compensation or restitution, as we would say, and another elder I would like to have, although it's kind of a little bit off the topic. So I'm talking about somebody who own what we own, right? On this particular series, speaking of our ancestors being the actual people of the estate, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Those who held a allodial title, if we want to be big with words and, things like this and that, we can do that. But his name is Clyde Winters, Dr. Clyde Winters. It's been a minute because, to be honest, prior to, again, me seeing him out on the circuit, I hadn't heard his name in almost since 2008, I want to say, somewhere in there. And this was during a time where we were getting portions of literature, and sometimes even portions, just it can be a complete 2 or 3 hour lecture. And sometimes I would only get an hour and 15 minutes of that particular lecture, which would cause me to have to go out and or pick up the phone and call some people and inquire about this particular individual, right? So suggestions, I guess y'all gonna have to put it in the comments, because I'm about to let this one here go. But I forgot to ask that question earlier on, but this probably is a better time to do it, because I probably interrupted my brother more than I know for sure, more than I planned on stopping them and asking them certain questions or adding on to what he was saying, because I was trying to cover a little bit of everything. You understand? Because again, he's a metaphysicist as well as a holistic practitioner. You know what I'm talking about? And that's just two of several of his area of expertise. So definitely check out my brother if you weren't familiar with him. I don't know how that's possible in this arena, but it happens, which is why, we are big on paying homage to those who have put the work in. Some of these brothers and sisters have actually risked their domes. You understand? And it was a time where this medium that we're on, this social media thing, didn't exist. So me and others being able to actually, certain things back in the day we wouldn't, even now it's certain things I won't say over the phone, right? But if you went Charlotte, you know what I'm saying, and I take that drive, right? Or if you went Chicago and I hit 94 westbound, and we can sit down and we can talk. And these are the things that we were doing back in the days. This is how I even learned about Dr. Alim Elbay. I didn't know who he was when I was in Detroit. I had to go somewhere else, you know what I'm saying, to hear about this brother. And then eventually, he was the number one seller as far as DVDs during this time. A little bit later, I'll say, people like Sonetta made a lot of money off of Dr. Alim Elbay. And this is no knock at all. You understand? I'm just telling you the facts. Different eras with the elder Sonetta selling the DVDs, the conscious DVDs back in the day. He could tell you which scholar, was most requested, right, by the people, by way of lecture and by way of DVD sales. And no doubt, when you're talking about 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, people were coming to him to get up on this Moorish paradigm. I'll just put it that way, or this American Moor indigenous thing that was going on, so I'm just saying, it's time to pay homage. You don't have to, again, agree with everything, but there's also no reason for you to disagree with the fact. The fact is a fact, good, bad, and different, right? And it takes a mature mind to begin to make mature decisions, right? As opposed to, again, wanting to make claims that what you stand on alone is the end all be all or the supreme. And if there's something that predates that particular theology that you're standing on, or ideology that you're standing on, that seems to have remnants of what you're standing on, you have to learn that. You understand? You have to learn because you need to know where you got those shoes from, so you can learn how to actually lace them up, right? And go and get you. Who wants to have one pair of shoes? I don't want one pair of shoes, right? I don't just want one pair of shoes. Meaning, I wasn't satisfied just with dealing with Islam. I wasn't satisfied with just being a Hebrew Israelite. And let me put something else on top of that. Me learning about, well, what is the Anunnaki? What is that? You understand? What is the Ilion? What is that? Who is this Melchizedek, the high priest? What is that? You know, things that would just be mentioned once in the King James version of the Bible, right? Just once. Like, we talk about Babylon, and you know, when we mention Nimrod, right? Why we never talk about Tammuz, right? I'm just saying there are things that predate these things. You're talking about the Most High, right? And no mention of a Netaru, right? It's come on, y'all. If our ancestors are who we say they are, there is so much for us to learn. And you can't learn that by being biased against foundations that predate the one that you're standing on, right? Just say Maya. For instance, speaking of India, when you're talking about the Vedas, when you're talking about Hindi or Hinduism, have you seen what their deities look like? I'm saying, like, I'm asking, have you seen the deities inside of the Veda? Because I have, right? I would tell y'all a story, but if I tell this story, I have to elaborate on some traumatic shit that happened to me, right? But let me just say this. There was a young woman who was, she was from India, Hindustan, right? And where we were at, she wouldn't talk to anybody, right? But she talked to me and showed me her book. And we're talking the year 2000. This is 2024, so we're talking about 24 years ago. And I don't know what I was saying that made her talk to me, right? But she talked to me. And she showed me I wasn't familiar with the book at the time, although I had other friends as a teenager growing up, somewhat, during my era where we lived in Florida, who were they were Hindi, right? So again, I was a little bit familiar, but the book that she showed me, I didn't look at the front or the back of the book, just the pictures of what their deities look like. You understand? Now, certain things are different. Like the cow is sacred to them. And I hope I'm saying this right, y'all, because again, 24 years ago is a long time. And when I was in Florida in middle school and high school, that was an even longer time ago. You see what I'm saying? But y'all help me out in the chat. Like for instance, and it's not because it's sacred, it's because it's a filthy animal when it comes to the pig, right? The Muslims don't eat that. Well, being that the cow is sacred to the Hindi people, they don't eat that, right? They don't consume that. But here in North America, burgers, or pretty much I haven't been all over the world, but you know, a lot of countries eat burgers, right? A lot of nations eat beef. Let's just say it like that. So to us, that would be, am I right? Thank you, the Bud, and thank you. I'm hella rusty. Like as many, I had quite a few friends. Even a guy who I work with. What was his name? I can't think of his name right now, and I should be able to just say his name. Yeah, you know, for instance, I thought he was Muslim because, again, Pakistan, which is basically, you know, they would say next to India. You see what I'm saying? But in ancient times, that was a part of Hindustan, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But again, I'm not rusty on everything, but some things are outdated. Some information has become outdated. You see what I'm saying? And we've had to update information. So I'm speaking to you, you know, with stuff I learned a long time ago. But again, that's the largest Islamic nation is Pakistan. It's not Iraq. It's not Afghanistan. It's not Saudi Arabia. It's none of those nations. It is Pakistan, right? So, which I know that's a fact still today. My point is, even the brother and sister, it was a brother and sister and two cousins that I went to school with in Florida. And the cousin was Muslim, but the brother and the sister, they were Hindi, right? They were Hindu. So, you know, the arguments that they would have and the way he would, you know, the Muslim cousin would speak to the other cousins, it was like, you know, them still your cousins, regardless to you having a different belief. But these, to be honest with y'all, that's not an ancient beef. Again, ancient times to some people is 2,000, 3,000 years ago. To me, that's not ancient times. That's how far we go back. And that's how far our ancestors recorded things that happened thousands of years ago, right? That still exist today, not just by way of oral tradition, but also by way of structures and artifacts, and you know what I'm talking about? Relics and things like this and that, right? They exist. These are things that we don't have to travel across the Atlantic to go see, or for some of you, the Ethiopian Ocean, and name some more names. You know what I'm saying? We don't have to go across the Pacific or the Atlantic to see these things. These things are here, right? So I think it would be wise, and this goes out to the brothers and sisters who have a larger following than we have right now, since we're starting over. We need to come together and even invite all Pan-Africans, you know, Muslims from all sects, Orthodox, Sunni, Nation of Islam, you know, and on an annual basis, take these trips, you understand, to starting wherever y'all want to start. We can start in Missouri. Do you realize how many ancient structures and artifacts that we are, you know, bypassing on a daily basis? We can start in Missouri and make our way all the way down to Louisiana. You know what I'm saying? Hit Central America, hit South America, right? And really become grounded with this before we go anywhere else, right? Anywhere else. Anywhere else. Wherever you want to say, the first people begin their civilization at, you know, which for me is still debatable, right? But the point is, they're finding all of these skeletal remains, right, that are mad ancient, farther back than many archaeologists and anthropologists and things like this and that farther back than they can carbon date. And what's the other dating that's better than carbon dating? Brother Tahuti was on here about a month or so ago, and he mentioned it, and I pulled it up for the people. So I'm sure he's going to be on here again too. Definitely. Everybody, he has a busy schedule, just like my brother Alim El Bay, just like my brother Sir Duke of Tears. Like, he's on some of everybody platform, as well as, they do a lot of traveling and things like this and that. So again, I appreciate them for looking out for they sis, they sis star, and coming through, because they had to take time out of their schedules in order to be here, to do this. So we got a gang of comments. Appreciate it. I'm gonna share these comments on the screen before we get out of here. And I put the number up earlier, but I done took the little tablet with the phone number upstairs, y'all. If it was any questions, concerns, that I can answer, I most definitely will. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go back, because I talk about the Nakals all the time. Usually if I say Anunnaki or Netaru, you know what I'm talking about? I typically say Nakals too, and I'm leaving out a bunch of others. I'm definitely leaving out something. I get rusty, and because we got some great concerns that would definitely bring in the general populace of other, well, I can't say general populace if I'm specifically talking about our people who look at even this information that, is not just available for you to try to, research on Google. Like I said, you can go and see Poverty Point. You can go and see Serpent Mound. You know what I'm saying? These are things that are in North America, right? Name some more shit where we ain't, you know what I mean? Gotta go to Mexico, right? It's many structures here. And where I'm at, I'm slipping because, if we talk about the Great Lakes, we don't have to just go and look at the structures that they're finding in the water that they have. See, the reason they say they have no explanation for it is because, we have such a difficult time claiming the things that our ancestors put together, things that they constructed, that they built, like tunnels and things like this and that. Now, with this, well, yeah, with the roads and the railroads, because that's some of the shit that's here. You see what I'm saying? Those tunnels. I never rode the tunnel from I don't even know how you would get on in the tunnel to go to Belle Isle here in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm old, but I guess I'm not that old. You see? But that's ancient shit. And right now, something that I've been talking about for years. The mainstream media is finally revealing. I heard a portion of like a whole interview, because I listen to the AM radio still, about how much water is up under Detroit, right? And that's one so-called city out of many. Now, specifically, the name Dey-Twah, it means water. It means stream, straight. It means water. That's why we have a street called Grand River. Well, according to the elders, the reason they call the street Grand River is because it was the Grand River, right? And how do you think these people sucked up all the water Or do you know? Do you got common sense enough to know that they built these structures on top? So a lot of this stuff actually needs to be torn down and rebuilt. And one of the scariest things I ever saw some years ago, and this has happened a couple times, where a city street just, what do you call it when the street just caves in? Huh? Well, just imagine you're driving, you know, I don't even want to say, because I don't want to imagine anything like that. But again, you know, we have to get it out of our heads that this regime of alleged elite, you know, are so much smarter, and they know what they're doing, and they've been ruling for a long time, which is hilarious because, again, 200 years is not a long time for the people that I come from, right? I can say we, but you got to start. If you don't know your own ancestry, you understand, how is you claiming something all the way across the water? I just heard Brother Reggie say Dr. Leonard Jeffries gave him an F, and he told him it was, you know, because you must know about your own ancestors during the time of Abraham Lincoln. And this is his like top elder who he looks up to. So if your elder told you, my brother Dr. Reggie, we haven't talked, you see what I'm saying, in a long, long time, but if the elder who you look up to the most tells you, you know what I'm saying, you have to know your ancestors starting from the time of Abraham Lincoln. What does that tell you? Does that sound like a Pan-African is talking to you? Because I'm quite sure, I would say 100% of us, if we go back to the ancestors that we had in 1865, you understand that these were people who were here, had been here, and even if a percentage, just give it a percentage of them came by way of being kidnapped or sold, say what it is, sold to come over here and slave for free or work for free, instead of having some type of indentured servitude for so many years and then being given, you know, something. Just imagine you know, you are given freedom, but what is that? Where you gonna live? Not only, you know, not only the issue of shelter, what you gonna eat? Somebody just give you free. No, that ain't what happened. It's not what happened at all. You're free, just go. Or you can stay here and work on the land, and I'll continue to feed you and shelter you. But bananas and donuts. So I don't know if y'all heard the question, but the question was, who y'all want to see next on this particular topic? Speaking of pre-Columbian, woolly-haired, indigenous, Aboriginal, autochthonous Americans, who y'all want to see next? So put it in the comments. And with that, buenos noches.